Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Maddie B. We got a big show for everyone today, and let's get right into it with high tempo. What do you got for us this week, Matt?
Oh, we had a heartbreaker on the road this week. Bulldogs played over at Juniata Valley. It was a hard-fought game, and couldn't pull the win out. We ended up running into some issues with some short yardage plays, and just couldn't get the yardage that we needed. And we ended up getting hit with the hook and ladder down by the goal line, and they successfully hit a couple deep throws that we were kind of just hoping that they weren't going to hit on. We knew going in they were going to sling it, and wanted to put them in a spot where they were going to have to make low percentage throws, and they connected on them. I mean, we've been lucky throughout the course of the season that we didn't really have a lot of teams throwing a lot of vertical routes, and this was a day that they were throwing them and hitting them. So looking to rebound, and we got a huge matchup senior week this Friday night.
Good luck with that. I know you guys still have a great record, so hoping to get some more wins for you guys and get that home field for playoffs.
Absolutely.
I'm going to mix up the show this week. I'm going to try something. So if you're listening and you have some feedback, send it our way. But we're going to get right into Steelers football here before we get off topic and hit other Pittsburgh sports. And we'll hit up those after football to kind of break up the two football segments, since we seem to be going from NFL right to college football. But let's get into it. JuJu fumbled again. People that don't remember, last year against the Saints, he went down the field, throw him, perfect pass, catches it, fumbles it. He put out a tweet, I have it up. He said, last year, when I'm at my lowest, I'm not going to hide. I'm sorry, that loss was on me. I let everyone down. It won't happen again. It won't happen again, but it did. Ravens, must-win game. We've talked about it. They had to, if they win the game, tied for first in the division. Instead, you lose. You're 2 games back. Ravens are the sole AFC North champion right now. And you have the ball. You get to overtime. We're going to get into the Mason Rudolph thing here in a bit because that set me off. But you have a chance to win with Hodges, who played great. Puts the ball to a wide-open JuJu. The guy he has not even wrapped the ball up. You take 2 steps, the first thing you should do, especially in overtime, is protect the ball. He was carrying it so loose that it was punched almost 10 yards into the air. That ball shot out like a cannon. That's how loose he was carrying it. It was almost like my man Jabril Peppers. Did you see that play where he just took down your boy, Cook, as he was running for the Vikings on Sunday with the big behind the tomahawk fumble? That's almost what it was like. That's how powerful of a fumble that JuJu had.
I don't know if it was quite that level.
Oh, it was pretty powerful. I think both of those
really
were up there.
On the Michigan evaluation scale.
Well, you remember whenever you told me that Jabril Peppers wouldn't have made a difference in that bowl game? I think right there it proves that he would have. He would have tomahawked the fumble right out. Michigan would have won.
Clearly, it would have made an impression because they had to say about it every 3 minutes.
So anyway, JuJu fumbles, and it looked like no one was even running for the ball. Almost like he thought, not really a fumble. But you had to know in that situation, you got to jump on the ball. And as soon as it fumbled it, I knew the game was over. The Ravens did basically nothing on offense. They just kicked a long field goal. What was it, 4th and 7 or something? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
They didn't get a first down, I don't think. So you're right there, and I just went right into depression mode. Why? If you're going to get a chance to win in what would be an upset, and you're at home, so you have to win the home game against the Ravens, in my mind.
Yeah, you absolutely had to. And all things considered, they played a great game. When you look at how they were moving the ball, they were playing ball control, keep away, and they were doing everything. They checked every box of stuff that you should be doing to win the ball game. And to give it up the way that they did was a typical Pittsburgh undisciplined play.
Yeah, it was crazy because you're in that situation. You're on your third string quarterback. He drives you for a chance to win. Tomlin played the old Patriots card, Bill Belichick, where he deferred in overtime. And I thought, oh, great, this is going to come back to bite us. Ravens are just going to drive down and score a touchdown. It's going to be over. But props to the defense. They held, got the ball back, and Steelers were moving the ball. The ball would have been around midfield. You only need one more first down at that point to at least attempt a game-winning field goal. And that's all I would have asked. You make the catch. I don't care how great of a punch-out it was. Protect the ball. You're in overtime. I was trying to look back and think, what big-time receiver could I remember that had a game-losing fumble like that in a big stage? I even did a search, and I saw one that was almost a fumble by Jerry Rice back before they had instant replay, where he did fumble it, but they didn't have replay, and they said that he was down. So that one almost by the GOAT, Jerry Rice. But other than that, I really couldn't find one. But to have two in your young career, and you're trying to distance yourself, not a good look. Not a good look. I don't want to harp on that, though, because Steelers, I thought, played well, all things considering. There was another thing that stood out to me, the obvious Mason Rudolph hit. Because the NFL, for all of the crap that they put out about protecting players and we're doing things the right way, you have a guy get completely knocked out of the game, and there's nothing. Nothing happens. And I'm not saying that Rudolph isn't at fault. Because if you watch the replay, number one, he did not have a mouthpiece in. I know a lot of players don't wear them. But he threw the ball, his mouth was wide open. And anyone that knows, if you've ever been into a fight, your jaw is going to be the thing that knocks you out. That's why they wear the mouthpiece in boxing. It's to keep your mouth shut so that your jaw isn't rattling up against your skull into your brain. Like, that's basically the force. And when his mouth was wide open when he threw that ball on the replay, I knew, well, that's why he was knocked out completely. But still, the Ravens guy launched. His helmet hit the other guy in the head. I understand he could have said that, hey, I was going for the pass knockdown, but the head was down. He hit the jaw with the top of his helmet. And that's the play they are supposed to be taking out of the game. Not even a review. Not even a penalty. Nothing. You had a guy completely knocked out. Unbelievable. Do you have any?
And then a step further, they went to cart him out, and the cart broke down.
Well, that's my next thing. Just a shit show. So they had the cart. So I saw it, and on first look, I thought I wasn't really focused on him, so I wasn't sure what happened. I thought maybe he landed wrong and broke his leg, because they really weren't showing that he was knocked out at first. At least on my stream, which was a total other fiasco. But I'm watching the game, and I see that the cart comes out, and the guys are pushing it. So the line the Steelers give is a complete lie. They said that Rudolph said he wanted to walk off the field. He was completely dazed when they carried him off the field. He wasn't saying anything. I don't understand how the trainers were not at fault there for saying, like, look, he's completely KO'd. You're not going to pick him up and just drag him to the locker room, which is what they did. Steelers, their response was that they had two carts. They said it wasn't broken down. It was user error. Which, I mean, guys, I'm right here. You need a guy on the field that can drive a cart. Call me up. Give me free tickets. Give me a parking pass so that I can park right there at the stadium. I'll make sure I can work the cart. I've driven them before. It's been a while since I've been in college, helping with our baseball team, and even in high school football, driving it around. I know how to work it. I can get it done. I don't know how you are a multi-million-dollar organization and you have user error. I think that's just a cop-out. Cart didn't work. And it should be just like a golf cart where it's like a battery. There's really only two things. Like, you turn the key and that's it. You go. I don't even understand how that would be an issue. And so it's comical. Your quarterback's completely knocked out, and they have like 6 people pushing the cart off the field.
They were trying to demonstrate feats of strength for the Steel City. It's supposed to be how strong we are.
I don't even have anything else to say on it. What's your take on it?
I thought it was a bad take, is what I thought. Just with seeing like the cart breaking down. Actually, the funniest tweet that I saw out of the whole exchange was Antonio Brown's probably sitting at home watching Mason Rudolph with his face mask off, wondering, why can't I wear my helmet like that?
Of course he'd go there.
But I thought the hit was bad, and it should have been reviewed. And I think if Mahomes would have been hit, if Brady would have been hit, you're definitely looking at a major suspension, especially on the heels of the league suspending Burfitt. Like, if I'm the Oakland Raiders, I'm gonna raise an issue with them not even like completely knocking them out and then not even having that reviewed.
Oh, I'll 100%. I'm behind you on that. You can't have, like I said, you can't have a helmet to helmet and then say, hey, what we're trying to do is take these hits out of the game. And then guess what? You have one. It's clear cut. You can just say, hey, we're going to go ahead and focus on this. You're out of the game for a day, whatever. I mean, it's not like they hold him out for a long time. And to add to your point, if it was Roethlisberger that got completely KO'd, same thing, he would have been ejected. But it's a young quarterback. Not a lot of people know who he is. No one's really watching the Steelers because of the record. And, I mean, there's really nothing else they can do. That's it. You had a chance to win. You're going to go on the road to the Chargers. Now you have Tomlin. It's looking like, I mean, we might as well get right into it. It's looking like he might go. The next topic on our thing, Redskins fired Jay Gruden, which I believe is the first head coach fired this season. I text Jeff, and I said, hey, Gruden got fired. He thought I meant John Gruden. I said, did I say Hall of Fame Gruden? Like, why would he be fired?
Yeah, he just beat the Bears.
Yeah, he's great. What kind of text would I send you? Like, hey, yeah, just so you know, Gruden got fired. They're aiming on Tomlin. Like, it's the Redskins. They've been talking about firing him. I thought they were going to fire him before the Patriots game. And so immediately it comes out that they're focused on Mike Tomlin and Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles was an awful coach. His win percentage was .388. Matt, I made the joke to you that Tony Gwynn had a better chance in 1994 of getting a base hit than Todd Bowles has of getting a win in the NFL, which is atrocious. And if the Redskins hire him, there's no reason to even be a fan. Like, I feel bad for you guys if you're a Redskins fan, if that's your coach. If you want to give a run with Tomlin, I don't see the issue. I mean, I think Steelers right now are in a rebuild, not going to make the playoffs again. I'm fine if he walks. I understand that Pittsburgh fans, a lot of people around the NFL and around the media think that if Tomlin goes, it's going to hurt the Steelers. They're not going to be able to find a guy. But I'm fine with bringing in someone and seeing what works. What about going for Lincoln Riley? He's already shot down the job for Washington. Someone brought it up to him and he said he would never go to Washington or something like that. But he didn't say that he wasn't thinking about going to the NFL. Bring a young guy like that in with the Steelers and see what kind of offense you can get if you want to be innovative. You already have a young core. Go with it. Roethlisberger, even if he comes back, which is doubtful. I mean, he's out for the entire year. Is he going to have arm strength back? I don't know. But if Tomlin wants to go, for his sake, because I don't want anything, like I don't want him to go there and just bomb out. I mean, he led the Steelers to Super Bowl. He got it done. That's pretty rare. It takes a long time for even a coach to do that. It took forever for Cowher to get one. So I want him to go to a place where he can succeed. Him succeeding with the Redskins, unless the Steelers met them in the Super Bowl, it wouldn't matter. So I would hope he would go there only if he thinks he can be successful. And I think he needs full control. I think some of the ESPN guys are saying the same thing. Jay Gruden made a comment today about some behind the scenes stuff. And he doesn't want to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. You know, one of those. Oh, I'm not going to harp on this job, but it's really tough whenever you can't make your own decisions, which is kind of what he said. So if they're going to bring in Tomlin, I think it needs to be upfront that he needs to make his own decisions. And I think the issue started back with my man Steve Spurrier, and Matt, you might know this better than me. Didn't he have personnel decisions for the Redskins and it didn't work out?
Yeah, because he filled the whole thing with the 1994 Florida Gators team.
He kept bringing in Florida Gator quarterbacks, right?
Yes.
Instead of getting the best guys. So a lot of people are talking trash on Dan Snyder, the Redskins owner, but he already had that same thing and it failed. So I don't even know. Do you give a guy? Now, this isn't a guy coming from college. So I would be 100% fine with Tomlin getting his own guys in because he already had locker room issues in Pittsburgh. So you really don't want to shove him with a bunch of random guys that he's not able to win over. And I think that might be an issue if he doesn't have player control. But I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think that he would leave during the season. Like, I would be shocked if he just gave a piece, I'm out. But that's one of the things to keep watching. Steelers got to go play the Chargers.
There's no way that he leaves in the middle of the year. Even if he's the guy, there's no way. There's no way that he goes in the middle of the year. That's such a bad look for him. I don't think the Roonies would let it pass because that would be such a slap in the face for them. There's no way that happens.
I just said I don't think it happens.
I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. There's no way. But I think that it makes sense for him to go to Washington because when you look, they've been trending middle of the road to below average. He's been missing the standard that he talks about. And I think the best way, if he wants to continue, to just get a fresh start and to go to a place where if in Washington, Dan Snyder's going to be willing to spend the money. And I think he would do better in a situation where he has a veteran locker room. Because when you look at when he started with the Steelers, he wasn't taking over a young Pittsburgh team. He was taking over a team that had a veteran locker room presence and that had a lot of older guys that he didn't have to necessarily patrol the locker room. I think Dan Snyder would buy the players for him that would make that system more successful. So I think that works to his advantage. And I think it also gets him away from Pittsburgh at the same time. And not that that's a bad thing, but I think he has the excuse right now of, well, I'm on my third string quarterback, and he has all these reasons as to why he wasn't successful right now, that he can kind of mail it in the rest of the year and still be able to take a run at just about any job he wants.
That's my fear, is that he's going to kind of mail it in. And that's why I think these next couple games are must win for the Steelers. I mean, they definitely are if you want to make the playoffs, which I think is almost 0% right now. I said it last week. Had to sweep the Bengals and the Ravens back to back. Came close. Should have done it. Hold on to the ball. But you didn't. So now you have to regroup and you have to win. Basically, you have to beat the Rams too to get to 5-4. And then I think we can start talking playoffs. But as of right now, that talk's done. We're just talking about the youth on the team and how you can build from here. I don't know that Rudolph's going to be cleared. So I don't see how you can get completely knocked out and then pass concussion protocol.
No, he'll be back next week, I would think, at the earliest.
Yeah, they had to take his face mask off, Matt. They said they need to make sure he can get some oxygen. But yeah, I mean, they needed to do that, but he was able to tell them, yeah, I can walk off the field.
I want to walk off the field.
He probably didn't even know where he was. They're like, can you walk? Our carts broke down. They're like, yeah, I think you said walk there. Let's get him. It was sad watching that because I couldn't tell. He was so dead, just limped over that I didn't know what happened to him. Until I saw the replay and I'm like, yeah, he's knocked out. So it's crazy why they would do that. And then the cart thing, just buy 5 carts. Why do you only have 2? And where was the second one anyway? Like, is it on the Reds or the Raven sideline?
No, it was like in Austin Powers. They were going back and forth, side to side, couldn't get it unstuck.
And the worst part was, Matt, John Harbaugh with those stupid glasses on got the win. Because I texted you, I said, "Oh my God, he's wearing the same stupid dark glasses that Jim Harbaugh wears when he looks confused on the Michigan sideline." And I said, "This is a Steelers win," and I almost called it.
I was dying when you said that.
Because that was a perfect situation. I've seen that before. When you have this high-powered offense, you're supposed to be able to score all these points, and then you come out with those glasses on looking confused when your offense is on the field. I knew Steelers, this is going to be perfect for the Steelers. Then Devin Bush had a hell of an interception. They got some key stops down the stretch. You had all the plays to win with your third-string quarterback. That would have been a perfect embodiment of the recent Ravens.
Well, I tell you what, it was like to me the thing that I didn't understand. I was telling my wife, it's like we're on our third string quarterback, and now all of a sudden we're going to start opening holes, and there's just this massive run game. Like where did that come from?
But I told you, I think it's because Hodges was he was running. He wasn't afraid to get out of the pocket and stretch it out. Where Rudolph, and maybe it's just because of how he played at Oklahoma State, where they're more of a quick pass. It seemed like they could really load the box. They knew he wasn't going to break the pocket. Like Ben is able to break the pocket. Hodges was breaking the pocket. He was running wild. How many runs did he even have? I think do I have the stats up still? I mean, he was able to get out of the pocket, get downfield. He ran the ball with some success that I remember. And then you have that to just your regular running game. It immediately opens up because you have to have guys that are watching the edge. They're not able to just jam it right up the middle. And Hodges had 20 yards rushing. His long was 21. So I guess do they take sacks out of that? I don't know how the NFL keeps that. So, I mean, he had a 21-yard rush because he's able to run. How many did Rudolph have? 0. Once you're able to add that running threat, it's the same thing that I keep hearing about Michigan's offense. It's like, hey, the offense is really close to clicking. It doesn't matter. If the quarterback never pulls the ball, he's 0 threat to run. You can't just save it. You have to run like Hodges did. You have to give them the option of, we don't know what's going to happen. It's 50-50. You can't do 90-10. It doesn't work because they'll just try to stop the 90%. Right up the middle, and that's what they're able to do when Rudolph doesn't run. That offense is built on Ben's ability to break the pocket and create space. And if you remember, a lot of Le'Veon Bell stuff was just screen passes or like outlet passes where he's able to then create space, or he did the delayed run because they weren't sure if Ben was just going to keep it and hit a quick pass. So that's what Rudolph, I would like to see him develop going forward. I don't think he's going to play, though. And I honestly think that it gives the Steelers a good chance to win because it takes a couple of games to get films on a quarterback. You don't even have a full tape on Hodges. Go out and get it done. The Chargers don't scare me because I don't know. I mean, they've been underperforming with Phillip Rivers forever, it seems. You talk about how you have a Hall of Fame quarterback. They don't scare me. The only thing that scares me is it's on the road and you have a young team. But then you're back home for the Dolphins, which you should win, and the Colts, which you should win. If you win those, you're sitting at what? You should be at 500 going into a Rams game also at home. If you can pull that off, then you have a chance. But right now, I'm thinking they're dead in the water. And I hope it's not like what you said, where Tomlin's just going to coast through and just get ready for the Redskins. But any other thoughts you have? What about around the division?
Around the division, surprising that Cleveland lost to the Niners.
Was that surprising, Matt?
Yeah.
Cleveland sucks. Actually,
it wasn't surprising because that the Magic OC from the Atlanta Falcons is their head coach now with the Niners. Last time that they were decent was when Shanahan was their OC.
And I was wondering,
made the wrong move of not letting him be the head coach.
I was wondering if that was going to be the case, if it took a while for him to implement his system, or if it's just a case of getting Garoppolo in and then building on some consistency with some of the young guys that they had. Because they kind of did a complete rebuild blow-up when they did the Tom Sola year. Like, that was the holdover. They thought that he could rekindle Harbaugh's magic, which not even close. And then they've been a dumpster fire ever since. You bring in Garoppolo, and you put all your eggs in that basket, and it seems like it's paying off. I think they said it's the last time the 49ers have been the remaining undefeated team in the NFC since 1984 with Joe Montana. On the game last night, I think that was a stat they said. Which is crazy, but all the people buying into the Browns, what do you expect? What has changed for their organization to make you think that they were going to have a great season? Because they signed all these offensive weapons?
No, they didn't sign Todd Haley. They had the chance.
I don't even know what to say to that. I know we talked about it before on the show, but it's just, I feel bad for their fans, but not really. They're rivals and all. But I told you, you would have beat the Ravens. You had a chance to sweep the Browns because they're not good. The Steelers could sweep the division. I think they had a stat up. Was Tomlin 15-1 and 1 against the division the last couple years? I want to say they showed that stat during the game. The one tie would be the Browns last year. I don't know who the loss was to because I didn't hear it. But I think they had a ridiculous graphic like over the past 4 years, he hasn't really lost in the division in the regular season.
That's because he had to go up against elite Joe Flacco, the flavor of the week, and the falling off red rifle.
I would imagine that the Ravens were the loss somewhere around there, but who knows? I mean, they beat the Bengals good enough. I guess you could have called it destroying them. But now you're back into what's going to happen around the AFC if you're looking at the picture here. And who do you think is in position to compete with New England because the Chiefs lost?
Yeah, but I really don't look at that as too much of a... You're going to have an off night with them. I think they're a team that can compete with them. But when you look at the amount of firepower that they have and given the time, it's time Andy Reid breaks the curse. This
but Matt,
could be the time.
That was an exact Andy Reid game because they lost to the Colts. We don't even know if the Colts are good. They're playing Jacoby Brissett from NC State. This is his first year starting. And he's only starting because Andrew Luck just decided to quit.
Yeah, but he would have ended up playing anyhow because at some point Andrew Luck would have inevitably gotten hurt.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the South is such a mess right now that it really plays into Pittsburgh's favor. I know they have a bleak playoff chance, but it's because the South and the North are so bad in terms of divisions. They don't really have a head team. You have New England, and then you have the Chiefs and the Bills at 4-1. After that, it's kind of a crapshoot that's going to clean itself up over the next 3 weeks. So let's see what happens. Steelers have to play those same Colts. I had that as a must-win game. Of course, I don't think they're gonna win the games I said. I think who knows? It could drop to the Chargers and they could lose to the Colts, and it could start off to be a horrendously bad season.
Well, it's ironic that they gave the first round pick for Fitzpatrick, and then they're going to end up like completely just zeroing out the rest of the year and giving away like a top 10 draft pick.
I know. I was worried. It could be even worse than that. It could be like a top 5.
Perfect time for Tomlin to go to the Redskins.
It's looking like that. I actually didn't even have anything else around the NFL. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Let me take a look here. For as much grief as we were giving the Raiders, coming out and beating the Bears, that was a big win for them. On the road. Maybe the right Gruden is starting to pull the magic back.
Don't worry, he's going to hire his brother now.
Oh, I would take that to the bank.
Yeah, that's almost guaranteed, I would imagine. He's probably already there. Even if it's just as an analyst, I don't know what the NFL rules are, but he's definitely going to be there. And that's only going to help them out. I think a healthy Carr helps them. If you remember, Gruden last year, they had some issues or whatever, but when Carr was healthy, they won 10 games or whatever. They might have been more than that. I can't remember, but they were a team that was picked to go to the Super Bowl. So it's not like Gruden came in and had an empty cupboard. He could turn that around. And, I mean, they're projected to, I think, make the playoffs at this point. At least get to the 8 games, like I said, depending on the rest of them. I mean, I think the projections have Steelers at 7 wins. So, who knows? We'll see down the stretch, but that's a big one. Russell Wilson has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
A great fantasy pick by me, A lot of people made fun of me. Why would you pick Russell Wilson? Because he's awesome.
What, that came out of nowhere, though. The last couple of years, he's been stinky.
Gotta have faith, Matt.
Once again, just got lucky.
I'll tell you, for people that have fantasy, I picked up Will Dissly. Is that their first name? I think his name's Will. The tight end for the Seahawks. Been an awesome pickup. He's like the number 1 tight end right now, at least using our PPR rules. So if you need a guy and you're playing in a small league, because I know he might still be available, but I doubt it at this point. Great pickup opportunity. A couple weeks ago when I picked him up on the free agency, I bid high for him too, and I think I texted you because no one else bid against me. I thought, what the heck? What a waste of $24. I could have just bid $1. No one even wanted him. He's the number 1 scoring tight end in our league. But I hate talking fantasy. Let's get into, so here's our middle section. You tell me if you like this or not. We're going to kind of go through some quick topics. Only spend a couple minutes on these. First one, Major League Baseball playoffs are going on. And I wanted to just revisit the Gerrit Cole trade, which of course I had up, but my computer's being weird. So they had the Houston. Gerrit Cole has been awesome for them in the playoffs. And I thought, oh, wow, remember when the Pirates traded for him? I wonder what they got back in return. I wonder how that's working out. So here's what they got. Joe Musgrove, right-hander. Then they had third baseman Colin Moran, reliever Michael Felix, and outfield prospect Jason Martin. As you can tell, a lot of guys that are giving the Pirates a great return. Like a great trade. They wouldn't have a need for Gerrit Cole because there was really no reason to trade him. Did you want an ace on your staff? No. Apparently not. No, let's just trade him for some guys that are going to contribute. I think that's what Neil Huntington is just looking back at a Major League Baseball article from when it happened. And what did he say? General Manager Neil Huntington said that he hopes they contribute. The players that he got back, he hopes they contribute in the future. Like, that's the best you can give? Like, it's a joke. A complete joke. The Pirates, I mean, they could have still traded for Chris Archer and had Gerrit Cole as some protection on the staff. Like, just pay. If you have guys and you're going to trade and not get anything in return, Pirate special. But some close series. I know Cards, Matt, the Braves battled back. Normally the Braves are known chokers.
And I thought, oh, this game's over. They had a 1-0 lead into the 9th and gave it away. But got the ace back on the hill for tomorrow night. So I like the chances of the Birds moving on.
Yeah, I looked around. That's a 2-2. I think the rest of them are 2-2. Except there's one going on.
Tomorrow night, the Dodgers and Nationals play as well.
Yeah, and the what's the one going on right now? The Rays are up on Houston.
For Houston.
And that's the one where I definitely wanted the Rays to lose because they started to do those articles about how oh, Major League Baseball teams, look at these budget teams and how they're going to do in the playoffs, when they should just be swept right out, just like the Yankees did with the Twins. Just get them out. Get them out. They can get their celebration. Hey, we made the playoffs, like when the Pirates made the wild card. One game in, and they were doing like their postseason Bucktober parade. Bucktober. Just makes me laugh. Let's get it. My next topic. NBA, Matt, decided to go quiet on politics. I don't know if you saw this. So the GM, I think, for the Houston Rockets tweeted something. He tweeted something about the Hong Kong protests and how he had support for democracy. And then I watched the NBA go into a panic. And I hate talking politics on the show, but the only reason I wanted to bring this up was a couple of years we talked about this on the show. The NBA moved the All-Star game out of Charlotte down here. Because of why? Politics. But now they don't want to talk about politics, Matt. Oh, no, they don't. Because guess what? It's going to hurt their bottom line. Because China's not broadcasting the games right now. They pulled 2 of the games right off their network. And guess what? You know what? They only care about the money.
But why does anyone do anything? Financially driven.
Yeah, it just makes me mad whenever people talk about the NFL and how, oh, it's getting too political. And then here's the NBA saying, we don't want to be political. But why? You've been political for the past 3 years. Everything you do.
But you look at for all the stuff that the NFL caught, they survived that wave of political uprising. And I thought at this point, it's definitely died down to a drastic level. And they've also turned it into positive spin of trying to get the players that if you have all this protesting that you want to do, turn it into some kind of charitable organization and advocate for it that way, as opposed to doing it during the games where it's going to affect sponsorships and people spending, contributing money to the program.
It just annoys me that you can be so flip-floppy and then everyone else just goes right. They go right in line. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, they're not political. Like, but yeah, they were. And they were nonstop about it to the point where they moved their entire All-Star game out of Charlotte to hurt an American city. But yet now they're worried that they're going to hurt something overseas. It just doesn't make any sense. Last topic I have for this, and in the future we'll do, like, I have 3 today. We'll see how 3 works. And our kind of like a quick hitter. We had talked about doing a quick hitter or something before. This is my favorite though. Kansas has apologized, Matt, because Snoop Dogg put on a performance there. They have their, it's kind of like, I don't know if it was at midnight. Like a lot of college basketball programs have like a midnight madness to get ready for basketball season. Kansas invited Snoop Dogg to their opening at the Fog. I think that's how you pronounce their basketball venue. He comes out, girls dancing on stripper pools, basically like strippers, and he has a money gun. And he's just shooting fake $100 bills with his face on them at the girls. Of course, it's uncensored because why not? And the best part was I sent you a picture. Their head coach did like some Snoop Dogg videos. They did all kind of marketing for it. There's a video of Snoop Dogg dunking and saying how basketball is his favorite sport. But we know football is his favorite sport. He even has a youth football team that he sponsors, I think, in LA. He comes to Steelers games all the time. He's a well-known Steelers fan. But he's going to pretend that he's a basketball fan to go do this Kansas show. And I thought it was hilarious that they had no idea what to expect. That just shows how out of touch some of these admins are, that they could be like, Snoop Dogg, yeah, I heard of him. All the kids love the dog, the doggy dog. Let's get him out here to perform for us. He said there's going to be dancing. That sounds like fun. And then it just like, oh yeah, that escalated really fast. We didn't know what was going on. Like, did you not even look it up? Like, what do you expect? Why do you think he tried to reinvent himself as Snoop Lion? Because that stuff wasn't correct back then. You have any thoughts on that?
No, I did see it. I mean, from the marketing standpoint, it's one of those, you run the risk that if no one crushes you with it from the social media police, then you really gain an advantage with recruiting and marketability for the program. But if you come out the wrong side of it, then you're really taking a major hit.
I was just laughing because I thought it was a good idea. Like, I like Snoop Dogg. I think he's good for sports because people know who he is of all ages. And he does help promote stuff. Remember USC? They got in trouble because he was on their sideline. And they had to distance themselves from him. So Kansas State, they see that USC thing, they'll raise you one. They'll put on a whole concert. The only thing worse in Kansas right now is Les Miles' hair dye. That's the only thing more embarrassing that's going on there. Because I looked at it, and I thought it was a joke when I got the text first. Like, hey, did Les Miles dye his hair black? No, he did. He 100% did. And he really has no reason to because he had like a blondish hair. So unless it like went completely white, there's no reason to go that dark. I have no idea.
Maybe it's one of those where you don't realize what color you're getting until it was too late. It's like, oh, crap, I wanted to go light brown.
What, is he riding it out now until they lose?
Yes.
They fired their offensive coordinator. It's not going well for them.
Well, he is at Kansas right now. It's going to take time.
Well, I know it's going to take time. I figure there's 50-50 chance that he turns into Lovie Smith and just gives up.
Maybe he has CTE. He's like, we got Alabama coming up.
Well, they just played their Super Bowl against Oklahoma. Didn't go as well. So really, what else does he have to prepare for? They don't really, I guess Kansas State, their rivalry game. But let's get into, we'll start with the ACC. Pitt. A lot of people count them out. They pulled off what I consider an upset over Duke. And now they're right there.
It's such a bizarre game. Like, this Pitt team is so bizarre to me. Because you go from knocking off UCF, that I really thought UCF was going to run away with the game. And then they follow it up with needing a last-second touchdown to beat Delaware. And then you follow it up by playing by the first half, tale of two teams. First half looking competitive and building a nice lead. And then just saying, go ahead, Duke, take it back, and just giving it away.
Well, here's my thought process on the season. You go to the Penn State game, and that's James Franklin doing James Franklin things, keeping that game close. And you thought, wow, they almost stole one there. Then they beat UCF, and I thought, UCF must not be that good. Then UCF loses again. Pitt, like you said, almost loses to Delaware. So I said, wow, this Pitt team's really bad. And then they turn around and beat Duke. And now they're sitting there. I looked at the rest of their schedule. They don't have any big teams left. They could potentially run the table and hope that Virginia stumbles twice. Because Virginia would have the tiebreaker, and that's who's ahead of them in their division. I think Pitt's 1-1 in the division right now. I could be wrong, but I think they only have one loss, so which would be to Virginia. Their other loss is to Penn State, which is out of the conference, so it doesn't count. So you could be sitting there at, what would it be, 10-2? 10-2 division champs again. I wouldn't be shocked, but I would be shocked at the same time because I would have no idea what to expect because that division has really come down to Virginia and Pitt. It looks like. I mean, Pitt plays, Miami, I think, this week, so they have a chance to get it done. Miami, I have no idea what happened to them. They started to get killed by Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech's not even a good team. Like, what are you doing? I know Diaz in his first year, but at least game plan to your strength where you can keep the game close. I mean, they tried to come back. They just didn't have enough. But don't get down to a team that's not good. To me, that's on coaching. You're not prepped enough to come out and put some stops to some of the things that the other team prepared for. So I think Pitt could really win that one. And like I said, just take the rest of the division. If they win out, they could be right there for an ACC championship game appearance. How crazy would it be if Pitt were to upset Clemson in the ACC championship?
Whoa.
I'm talking about it now because I'm not going to have a chance to talk about it when they lose to Miami this week because they're bound to let me down, Matt.
I I'm okay with Pitt winning on the coastal side. I don't know about Clemson on the Atlantic.
Oh, that's what you're owing about?
Yeah.
Because Pitt already, Matt, Clemson has looked like world beaters. Well, not really. They almost lost to UNC.
There you go.
But they had a bye week now.
They did have the bye week.
They're refocused.
Week this week.
Matt, haven't you been reading the bottom 10 on ESPN? They have Florida State in the bottom 10. They're going to fire Willie Taggart. It's already been written.
Oh, well, if you read it on the internet, then I guess it has to be true.
It's the worldwide leader in sports. It's not just I'm reading it on Southbound Sports or something.
Well, if you're reading it on Southbound Sports, then someone has hacked into our site because we're not writing shit right now.
Very true. Podcast focused.
But with the extra bye week, I think it plays into Florida State's advantage. They've played. They have the 2 losses early in the season, but I think that they're starting to get stuff to click. And what people don't remember is the last year's game ended badly. The score ended up bad at the end, but they played competitively through the whole game. It wasn't until the tail end that things got out of hand. They're 4-touchdown underdogs to Clemson. They cover that. I don't know that they have the ponies to beat Clemson in Death Valley, but they're not 4-touchdown bad. They're going to score points, and they've had an extra week with Jim Leavitt there, the savior.
So this is your big thing on the show. Your big hot take is that Florida State's not going to lose by 28 points.
They're going to cover.
I thought you're going to predict a Seminoles victory.
It wouldn't surprise me, but my heart's been broken too many times the last year and a half.
So like you said, it comes down to really this game. I'm surprised that it didn't end up being the night game. I think we had talked about that on the show. They actually did a switcheroo because I thought Penn State was going to put Michigan in his whiteout game. I heard Fox wanted it. Then I heard that there was some bidding that went around, and it was ultimately chosen as what looks like it's going to be the game day game for next week. Michigan at Penn State, Happy Valley for a whiteout game. Of course, that depends on Penn State. Still has to travel to Iowa, which we're going to get into next. But on the ACC side, you have potentially the game of the year. I know Clemson might have some other tests, but let's be real. Florida State's the only team that's close to them in talent. That's the only chance that you have of a closer game. Like you said, Matt, I don't see Florida State being that bad that they're going to get boat raced. I think the last time that happened is when against Louisville with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like a fluke game against the Heisman Trophy winner. Taylor Lawrence has not looked sharp. So you're going to tell me that they're going to beat a team full of athletes that bad? I just think that Florida State's going to be able to scheme it good, and I think you're going to get a classic game. And I think the winners of this game it's going to be 2 things decided. If Willie Taggart stays for more than a couple years, if they end up getting killed, I think the team folds, and that's it for the Taggart. I think that's going to be it for his reign as head coach. I know you're shaking your head now, but that's my take.
No, there's no way. There's no way that you buy him out. There's no way that you end it that soon.
You just lost your college bowl streak, and then
he didn't
potentially get that again.
You can hang that on him if you're a moron. But
you're right, because they lost it actually the year before when they played that ineligible team, and they shouldn't have been eligible for the bowl game. Remember? I see you rolling your eyes. So you're right. This is going to be their 3rd year without a bowl game. 3 straight years of missing bowls.
It's going to be their 3rd year. Crackhead.
Oh, man. We'll see.
Following the NCAA rules, it's been 1.
NCAA rules. That's what you're looking at for the ACC. I think that's going to be the big deciding factor. Pitt winning out, and then seeing what happens with Virginia on the coastal, and then this Florida State Clemson game on the, is that the Atlantic? I don't know what their divisions are. They annoy me so much. It's just as bad as the Legends and Leaders. All right, let's get into the Big Ten. Ohio State dominated, but let's start with Penn State. Penn State has to travel to Iowa. I mentioned it. It's their first true road test because Michigan faces the same type of media hot takes that Florida State has faced with Willie Taggart. If you win the game, not a big deal. Florida State beat NC State. That was supposed to be like a great win for them if they were able to do it. Once they won that game, no one has talked about it. They were like, oh, it's just NC State. Michigan playing up to the Iowa game. If you go back and look at all the hot takes, this is the biggest game in Jim Harbaugh's career. It would be a miracle if he wins it. Michigan pulls the game out 10-3. And then everyone was like, wow, that Iowa team's really bad. Michigan, that doesn't really count for them as a big win. And so now you have Penn State going into Kinnick at night to play that same Iowa team that everyone just flipped and now thinks is awful. But I don't think they're awful. I think it's going to be a real test for Penn State. So go ahead.
I just think there's so much hatred for Florida State that you look at like the letter that was released from Penn State that they were comparing they're like, we don't want you looking like the Florida State and Miami players, like specifically named Florida State in it. So like,
did it? I didn't remember seeing that in the letter.
Yes, it was in there. Like they asked afterwards, like after the letter was released, they interviewed him, and he was like, "Yeah, we don't need them looking like the Miami and Florida State players, like specifically naming Florida State." So Florida State's a brand that's been in people's heads for a long time, and it's just like I think because they've been so successful for a long time that now that they've hit a point where they're stumbling a little bit, it's like the media just wants to dump on them. And I think it's funny that you have them where they beat NC State and they've been winning games, and their only losses have been to teams that were ranked. That now you look at Texas A&M, that on the verge of their third loss, and it's like how can we justify keeping another SEC team in the top 25? And I just think like the hypocrisy behind it is ridiculous.
Well, let's fill people in that don't know. A Penn State player received a letter written by a supposed, which I guess they verified it because he did give an interview, Penn State alum, that said that they did not like seeing his dreads on the field because they were dirty and in the same category as like, what did he say, tattooed players?
Yes.
I don't have the letter. I'll put it up on the Southbound Sports Twitter or on our website. If you go there, you can find the post for this show note on our Twitter, and it'll be linked from there. But it almost came to, I heard about those letters before. If you watch the Fab 5, 30 for 30, they had talked about receiving letters from fans and how I think someone had speculated how they didn't know if it was actual fans or if it was people posing as fans to try to get in their head. You know what I mean? Like when I first saw the letter from Penn State, I thought, oh, that's a Pitt fan.
That's exactly. I did think Pitt, but I just thought that has to be someone else's fan just trying to throw gas on the fire. But then they go back and it's like, nope, I'm a proud alum, and I'm going to give you all my contact information too. Like I give credit where credit's due. He made the comment and stood by it.
It's almost like social media with the people that comment in like a newspaper article and they use their real Facebook profile. It's like them hanging out with their kids and they like go on the most outrageous rant about some news story. That's what it reminded me of. So you had that, and then he like signed it with his name, and unbelievable. The guy was from Johnstown, which is a great look because that's right around your area, Matt.
That's right.
So unbelievable that they would send that. But you're right.
With one of my coworkers is a big Penn State guy, and I was trying to give him a hard time about it, and then I saw the story came out later that of course it was Johnstown. And I said, well, there you go. In case you were wondering, it's perfectly.
Like I said, I thought it was fake. Then it came out, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense that the guy would want to keep doing interviews and talking about how clean, because that's what everyone talked about growing up in the area. How they didn't have the names on the jerseys. They did things the right way and focused on just the team aspect. But like, come on. Let the guy give. I had long hair playing sports. Everyone always told me to cut it or whatever. No way. Helped you stand out. I mean, it's awesome. Go with it. Have some personality. Now, if you're running the ball, I wouldn't recommend it because you don't want to get your head ripped down. I remember like Ricky Williams did that. And then I wondered even the same thing with Devin Bush. If you watched him, he used to have the dreads out of his helmet, and they were definitely tucked up on the last game because I didn't even realize it was him that had the interception at first. So you have that, and maybe it's a thing. I don't know. I know at the professional levels, they really try to knock the individuality. They even fined Ben Roethlisberger for having his Apple Watch on. Did you see that? I forgot to bring this up. They fined him. It was unconfirmed, but I assume that it was real, that he was fined like $16,000 or something like that. That might not be the exact amount because he said that his arm was hurt. Of course, he can't really lift it. He just had surgery. So his wife got him dressed and he forgot that the watch was on. And the NFL said that was a communications device and it was illegal, that he could have been getting extra signals in on his Apple Watch. But, Matt, did the NFL not realize how an Apple Watch works? If he gets an alert, they can read it on the camera. It shows you right there. It's not like a hidden message where like beeps out Morse code. Look, yep, that's it. They're running cover 2. Like they have 100 cameras right there.
What's he going? Well, let me see.
Yeah, why does Ben keep flicking around his dead arm to read his watch? I don't even know if it was on the dead arm, but I'm just thinking like, come on, the guy, if he's gonna, because even if it wasn't on his dead arm, he would still have to like finagle it to read more. Like they would notice if he was trying to. It's not a man with 2 healthy arms down there trying to sneak something. Like they would have better ways to cheat. So I just thought that was outrageous because Odell Beckham had his on. I know they fined him but they gave the reason that it was against uniform protocol. So what is it? Maybe his wasn't a smartwatch. I don't know. But yeah, you have that. You have fans that apparently live in the past and don't want anyone to have individual, because he talked about people celebrating. And let's be honest, the new celebrations of the NFL are so lame that I don't know how anyone could be offended by that. Unless you're just offended for the player himself embarrassing himself like that on TV. Like, do something cool. Posing for a team photo is not cool. That's like saying, yes, NFL, we'll do whatever you want. Yeah, you just want us to do that? That's a good celebration. Thank you. Like, I'm not going to come out with anything outside the box. I'll just do whatever you tell me. Keep signing them checks. After the Penn State one, which, let's do a prediction. Who do you got? Iowa, Penn State?
Hawkeyes.
I'm going to have Penn State in this one because I think they're going to be undefeated going to the whiteout game against Michigan. I just didn't see anything out of them. I don't see how they have such a bad game against Michigan where they have like however many interceptions they ended up with. Offense got sacked a million times, it felt like. Like John Brown at the end of the game made so many adjustments that Nate Stanley, he has to have nightmares this week because he was sacked so many times. The game saving, they almost got a first down to save the game because he threw a screen pass with his left hand because he was already getting wrapped up. I don't know if you saw that. So he getting sacked and he just put the ball in his left hand and threw a screen pass, which was caught. But of course it was like 3rd and 20 something and he didn't get the first down because they kept getting sacked. It was unbelievable that Iowa had no, and I've been a big fan of Iowa's zone schemes, and I thought for sure just shift the coverage. But Michigan did so many delayed blitzes, give credit to Don Brown, that Iowa guys were committing, and then Michigan would just blitz right after and have wide open holes. It was unbelievable how they didn't start to roll out, because I remember the old Iowa offense where they would roll Brad Banks out, roll Drew Tate out of the pocket to give them extra looks. And they didn't do any of that with Nate Stanley. They just let him just take a beating. And so I'm torn because I don't think there's any way Iowa can have that bad of an offensive performance. But I also don't know how good their defense is because Michigan's offense is so bad. And I don't know if they can stop Penn State. So I'm going Penn State. And Florida State, Clemson. We'll go back to you. Said Clemson, right? As your official pick.
Oh, I'm going to go with my heart. Florida State. We're going with the upset.
Okay, because I'm sticking with Clemson. So we're opposite so far. And then the last one, I don't really have a game for this one to pick them. But you have, I guess we could pick, is it Pitt, Miami? I'll look that up. But last thing I want to talk about, Ohio State came out against Michigan State. Michigan State had some pretty costly fumbles at the beginning of the game. And it looked like they slowed Ohio State down. But in the end, the second quarter just killed Michigan State. Like, I don't know why they just didn't sit on the ball and try to run some clock, but they tried to like push tempo and they kept giving Ohio State the ball back and Ohio State kept scoring and that game was over quick. So Ohio State is definitely the class of the Big Ten. And I don't see how, even if they drop a game, they miss out on the playoffs. So you can talk about having multiple SEC teams and possibly a Notre Dame with one loss backing in. I just don't see how Ohio State gets left out again. And if they do, I honestly think the Big Ten needs to just sack up and start complaining about expanding the playoffs for real. Or about just having their own playoffs and start naming national champions again. Because it's the only way you're going to get change. And the Pac-12's already kind of eliminated themselves because they've had some interconference losses and the weird BYU circle of suck thing they had going on. But come on. You got to start putting your horses behind your best team. I don't know if anyone could stop Ohio State. I sure as hell don't think that Clemson, the team that had trouble with UNC, I don't think they could stop Ohio State. It might be a shootout, but I would love to see that game. So, actually, is Pitt on a bye this week? I might have had my games backwards. What's the Saturday thing? Yeah, they are on a bye. They play Syracuse next Friday. So, then it's Miami. I must have been thinking the next home game. Miami's the next home game. They have to travel to Syracuse first. So, that's my stuff. You have anything else for the Big Ten or the ACC?
No.
All right, we'll see if we have any. I didn't even look at the big games because I was thinking I must be off. You have the what is it? The Red River game, the shootout, Oklahoma or Texas. Who do you have?
Oklahoma, running away with Texas, horns down.
That's why I think Oklahoma wins, and I think Lincoln Riley could make the jump to the NFL. And I saw some people questioning why. He's making $6 million in Oklahoma. By comparison, I'm pretty sure Jim Harbaugh makes 10? Nick Saban probably makes 10. If Lincoln Riley doesn't make 10, he could make that in the NFL. And guess what? He doesn't have to deal with a recruiting class that at Oklahoma hasn't been getting it done in the playoffs. You can see how your offense runs. And like I said, if he's going to make that jump and Tomlin wants to leave, I don't see any reason why the Steelers wouldn't make a jump at him. Cliff Kingsbury got his first win. I've been hard on that. But why not? Go. Give it a run if that's how things shake out. Because I don't think Texas is for real. And I think that's just going to be the big one. We already did Florida State, Clemson. There's some other ones, Michigan State, Wisconsin, but I don't think that's really going to be too big of a game. And then, of course, Penn State at Iowa. You also have your boys, Florida at LSU. Who do you have in that one?
Not even close, LSU.
But I was really, really hard on LSU and their version of Brady Hoke, Coach O. But he seems to be, from all outside perspective, hands off as all can be. He seems to be the CEO type head coach that I wanted Harbaugh to become this year, and it doesn't look like it happened. Coach O is showing that can work. You, the head coach, can focus on recruiting and doing Hummer commercials, and then you have a guy come in to run his offense, and you have a guy come in to run his defense. If you hire good coordinators, it can work out. Harbaugh had the same thing in the NFL and at college. And I mean, David Shaw is a successful head coach, and I know you lose some of those guys along the way, but hire a guy that can get it done. I know Josh Gaddis doesn't have full control because, like I said, there's no way that the speed and space and stuff at Alabama taught him to run a fullback directly into 8 men in the box. That's Harbaugh 100%. Maybe the quarterback not pulling the ball. I don't know. Shea Patterson is on the quarterback of the year watch list, Matt. He's a finalist. I don't know how. We talked about paying players. I told you, it's only going to help the big dogs. And why? Because of things like this. Hey, look at our guy. Look at his stats. 7 turnovers. 5 fumbles this year. And he's a finalist for best quarterback in the land. You're a young high school guy, Matt. You really don't think that a team that can put that together isn't going to be able to sway high recruits? And I only say that because I think Harbaugh came out and stated against it. He said that it's going to be too hard to police. Why are you policing anything? That guy from UCF a couple years ago got shut down for having his own YouTube channel. Let him make his money if people want to send him money. Right now, the NCAA is saying none of that. Let them do that. I think Harbaugh came back and said that his idea would be that you can go pro at any time, and if you don't get drafted, you come back. Which would have been monumental back in the Claret days for Ohio State. He comes out. I think he had to sit out an entire year and then barely got drafted. But like, what if he would have got drafted that year? Or if he didn't, which I think he would have. Like, that would have changed almost the entire game. But it's past that. So you got to let players get their money and then shoot the money cannon at them. Like I said, if Michigan and Ohio State are both against it, you know that it's going to be good, not just for the big programs, but for the smaller ones too. Because now they have other perks that they can offer, great education, stuff like that, that other schools aren't going to match. Now these younger guys are at least going to be able to get money at schools that might be closer to home and give schools like Pitt a chance to actually compete on recruits when they have no chance right now. So that's it. You have anything for the final bell?
Just check out the website. He did a good job with it. So check it out.
Yeah, check it out. Definitely make sure if you want to watch on YouTube, we have that. Subscribe on Facebook. I know we got some new followers last week, so we appreciate that. Like our page. Putting some stuff out. I know it's a tough year. We had some great stuff, and fans have been kind of down because Steelers started off 1-4. But we have a whole year of football, a nice young team. So definitely stick with it. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.